Welcome back. You're watching Today. Now, are you thinking of investing in property? Then you'll want to pay close attention to this conversation. We're chatting to Sylvia Milosevic, who's a property mogul and businesswoman, for some tips, especially for first-time buyers and for women as we enter Women's Month. So her main strategies involve capital flips, back-to-back deals, installment sales, and of course high-density residential developments. It's a whirlwind of a sector, Sylvia, and thank you for joining us in studio. But before we get into the specifics of the sector and your role in empowering women in a sector that's traditionally male-dominated, what was your journey like, and why is it the property sector that got you hooked?
First of all, thank you for having me here, Afiwa. And my inspiration, it came from, I would say, a misfortunate situation. When I was growing up, my dad was the only breadwinner at home. He lost his job. He didn't actually get fired, but he was he was on the list of job cards, and he lost his job. And my family went from a family that had money, never worried about money, to not knowing where money came from. We went into a struggle phase. Let me say we actually became poor from that experience. And I remember as a 16-year-old girl watching my father getting into depression over that situation, getting to even a position of becoming alcoholic. It did something to me as a young girl to say, my gosh, how can you rely on something for so many years of your life? And something like that, like something you're relying on, something that's taking care of your family, something that's supposed to sustain you until retirement, be taken away from you, just like that. So that scared me. And I remember making a prayer saying, when I grow up, I'll never rely on anyone else to look after me, nor rely on a job. And when I turned 21 years old, my parents, for my 21st birthday, they did something amazing. They bought me a book. The book was about property. It was written by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book in 3 days, and that's when I found my aha moment. That's when I found my answered prayer to say, this is something I'm going to do. This is something I'm going to do, whatever it takes to learn it, so I can invest in property, so I never, ever have to rely on a job. Do I need to work? Yes, I need to work. But while I'm going to be working, I'm going to make sure I don't stay there too comfortable for too long. And I'm going to use the opportunity of a job to giving me access to getting things like bonds, so I can start building my portfolio. And that was the start of my journey.
Yeah, and I mean, there's so many sects of society, one would argue, need to be uplifted. And you have chosen women in particular. And you're an author as well, an accomplished author, and you've written around the sector and all the issues around it. Why is it important for you to uplift women when it comes to property investment and, of course, the education around property investment, that it is actually possible?
Oh, I love that question. I am very, very passionate about women empowerment. I'm a black woman who comes from a township. I'm a black woman who was raised by a stay-home mom. And I'm a black woman who has found a way in an industry that has a few limited female powerhouse in it. And when I learned about investing in property the right way, I mean, I had to invest in myself to get the education, got some of the top experts, mentors locally, internationally. But one of the things that I did was, as soon as I learned and I started putting into action everything I learned, started to see results in my life, and I saw how property investing changed my life. And with the knowledge I had, I imparted it to my mom, I imparted it to my friends, to my female friends, where all of them today, they're playing in this space, and I saw how it equally changed their lives. And that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, we can enter this space, we can play in this space, and there's huge opportunities in the country for women like me, for the youth. There are DFIs, developmental funding institutions, that on every year they've got mandates to finance opportunities, finance high-density residential developments projects, and institutions, they've been created on the basis of empowerment, of supporting people like you and I. So my passion and why I do what I do is to go back to my community, to go back to the young girl from Harankua, from any township, from the rural place, and say, you know what? You are worth it. You can do it. Look at me. I come from the dusty roads of Harankua, and from where I started from to today, to having had built a multi-million worth of rents in property portfolios, So if I can do it, you can do it too. So
Absolutely.
That's my inspiration, and that's why we do what we're doing, and hence that's why I wrote the book about it. A South African made book that talks to us, that talks about the South African economy, that talks about opportunities that are there and how to go about tapping into that.
Let's speak about the South African economy, because I don't want to be crass on air, but it's been a mess, you know, interest rates, the high cost of living, and the property sector has been a sector that's been hit quite hard by it, right? What kind of advice are you giving people that want to invest in the sector in the current climax? How are you operating your portfolio in the current climax?
You know, I'm one of those people, and I learned this long time ago, and I learned this from, you know, the great Warren Buffett. He said that during the 2008 world recession, when the whole world was going doom and gloom, and, you know, the worst recession of our time, he said that during that time there were more billionaires, not even multi-millionaires, there were more billionaires created during that time than any other time in history. And the reason why that happened is because during that time when everyone was worried and, you know, they were affected about everything that was going around there in their surrounding, in the economy, and they were affected by it. He said there were others who saw opportunities and they brought about solutions to to people. So he says that oftentimes opportunities come they come in a form of disguise in a form of misfortune, you know, but it takes one to get training, it takes one to learn to spot opportunities. So a situation like right now with what's happening in the economy, where we have higher interest rates, luckily our inflation rate went down, you know, I look at opportunities like this because you can invest in property successfully regardless of whichever market you're investing in, because as long as there's a human being on earth, they'll always be looking for shelter. So you just need to know which strategy to tap into. So for example, right now, high interest rates, a lot of people right now are feeling it. So what's happening in the market? People are now selling off their properties. It's a buyer's market. So this is when we go shopping. This is when we're getting the most success in property investing. We go out there, we're able to negotiate, to buy properties low. You either buy now below market value, or you wait for the interest rates to go down by going to the market and paying high for properties. So we prefer buying right now.
So is it time to negotiate, because people are desperate to get rid of it, right?
It's you know, and it's bringing about solutions to them, because they, you know, they might be in a position where they might not be able to can finance the opportunities. We tap into also other exciting strategies, where what's happening now is a lot of people are offloading some of the properties, other people are downgrading. So the entry-level market, tapping into strategies such as your high-density residential development, moving into areas where we call them your entry-level market areas, where properties are priced from, let's say, 0 to your high 700,000. There's a lot of demand within that market. That's what we're playing in right now. We're not buying houses in your center, and I'm sorry to say that for those who are buying right now there, but I'm talking about we've learned to understand the market and the movement, and to know at whichever situation, you know how to navigate it, you know how to pivot it. And property investing can work all year round, in all seasons. You just need to know what you're doing, hence why it's important to get the education.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that insightful conversation, and I wish we had more time. That is Sylvia, a businesswoman rather, and property mogul, as you've just heard, with some great advice there. Sylvia Milosevic joining us to speak about her journey as a property investor, the growth she's seen, and of course what she wants to see for other young women across the country, to say, actually, it is possible.